Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. This is the Basement of Horror. And today we're going to talk about some fairly recent toys. Let's take one out here. Big jumbo toys. Well, no, some of them are small, but these first two are jumbo. This is becoming a rare commodity in the United States, a Toys R Us bag. I mean, I'm nostalgic just looking at this bag. So this is a Toys R Us Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and he doesn't really want to stand up. Will he stand up on here? Yeah, he might smash my Aurora. That's right, I can't wait toys. Let's set him down for the moment. We'll pick him back up. But, wow. I mean, this brings back memories, just this bag. Toys R Us. I mean, we used to have Toys R Us. Back in the old days, we had Toys R Us in the United States. They still had Toys R Us in Canada. And I'm envious looking at Canadian friends on Facebook showing, just like taking pictures of the toy aisles in Canada, in the Toys R Us stores in Canada. Like, it's just no big deal. And it's a big deal to us. We don't have Toys R Us anymore. Here's the receipt. When did I buy this thing? November 29th, 2016. So, it was around this time of year that I bought it. The holiday season. I wonder what was on my mind, and why did I just fold this up? Whatever. Put that right there. So, this Bigfoot has a buddy. We might as well get him out. And this one was in a green Toys R Us bag, but I sacrificed that green bag when I did my COVID-19 puppet monster. I had to do a green screen, and so I had an actual green screen, but then I had to make my arm green, so I took his Toys R Us bag and I turned it into a sleeve that went up into my shoulder area and halfway across my chest. So I greened out my arm so I could do that puppet. So after that, his bag was no longer usable. How in the world did I do this? So he just has some generic shopping bags now, which is not as much fun as a Toys R Us bag. Okay. Now, I don't know if these are going to stand up on their own on this surface. Maybe not. Okay. Let's get these up here. Yay, there they are. The Yeti stands pretty good. The Bigfoot, not so much. So this is a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And this is the Yeti or Abominable Snowman. And you can see he's got a Disney influence, like the Matterhorn Disney Yeti with the blue. He's all white and he's got blue skin. And how does the Bumble in Rudolph have blue skin? I think he does. I'm not sure. The Wampa does not have blue skin. So anyway, this Yeti has blue skin and he's all white. And this Sasquatch is brown and tan. And these are big, cute toys. This one he's more, I mean, they're both squishy, but he's a little more rigid. The Yeti's more squishy. You can really squish him. And I've seen eBay listings where these things are just falling apart. So apparently the the limbs are just super glued on. They're just super glued to the body. And there are eBay listings where an arm is lying off to the side, or maybe all the limbs are separated. Hopefully, if you don't play with them, and I don't play with them, they won't fall apart. But I can imagine if a child made them fight and banged them together and threw them or buried them or played with them outside, yeah, I can imagine the limbs falling off then. And I thought maybe, so this is interesting. His legs, the Yeti's legs, are very rigid. Same with the Sasquatch. His body is very squishy. His arms, the Yeti's arms are, so they're both like that. The arms and legs are very, very rigid, and the torsos and the head are very squishy. Maybe that's why they fall apart, because they're not made of the same material. The glue doesn't stick forever. Maybe, I don't know. They look pretty thoroughly glued on there. I don't know. I think it would take a lot of work to knock that off, unless the glue just dries up on its own. But because the torsos are squishy, I can imagine if you squished them, those seams would separate. They would bend and separate. So that might be the problem. Well, enough talk about them falling apart. These are not falling apart at the moment. So they're big, wonderful toys, and you used to see stuff like this at Toys R Us all the time. I don't know about the Canadian stores, what they have now. But the U.S. stores, they had all kinds of dinosaurs and sharks and alligators, and they had all kinds of snakes. They had big snakes, big spiders. I think that's what I was thinking of, big tarantulas and all kinds of stuff. So they had big, rubbery animals, and some of them were filled with foam. They would have a rubbery skin, and they'd be filled with foam inside. Others were just hollow, like these. And they had them in bins, just piled on top of each other. They were reasonably priced, as I recall, for what they were. And they were just big, fun toys. And right at the very end, in the last years of Toys R Us, they came out with these Bigfoot and Yeti figures. They're impressive toys. I mean, they're cartoony, but they're really cute and really fun, and I can imagine a kid just going to town with these things. And I always like it when toys can be used as deadly weapons. So these things, I don't want to swing them too much and break the limbs off, but you could wallop someone over the head with these. Either one. You could really pound someone into the dirt with these things. And I always think that's a plus when a toy can be used to pound the life out of someone. As a kid, I always enjoyed that. And as an adult, I enjoy it even more. Now so if you hear meowing, Billy is over here just meowing and meowing and meowing. And he jumped up on these toys over here for a second. I have a couple of Bigfoot things here. There's Bionic Bigfoot. Not as big as these suckers. Which one would win in a fight? Well, unfortunately, this one could just body slam Bionic Bigfoot and he'd fall apart because he's made of brittle plastic. But I don't know. These seem to fall apart too, so maybe it'd be a closer call than I think. This is my childhood Bionic Bigfoot, and he still has his original plate. That's not a reproduction. He's been with me a long time. Yes, sirree. One of my childhood toys. There we go. Oh, and this is a, what's it called? Oh, a shadow box, right? Yeah, shadow box. Myths and Legends Bigfoot. And one day I will do an episode just on the Shadowbox Myths and Legends series. But that's the Bigfoot from that line. And he's a little more like these because he doesn't have any joints. He doesn't move. He's not posable. He's just a lump of PVC. And these are, I guess, a lump of vinyl and PVC. Okay. Now, I have some other places to show you, but we need to talk about these a little more. These Bigfoots. Let me see if I can get this out of the way without messing everything up. Okay. Let me get a close-up of the Sasquatch. So no, he's not accurate to the reports of Bigfoot. I don't think most eyewitnesses don't claim that he looks like this. Although the red eyes are accurate. Most witnesses do say he has red eyes. There's his infamous big feet. They're very big. I mean, if you're going to make a Bigfoot toy, you've got to give him big feet. The bionic Bigfoot has little feet. That's one criticism of bionic Bigfoot. He has little feet. This thing has big old huge feet, like a Bigfoot should. And it looks like he's resting on something. Like he's kind of tired. I had a long walk. He's going to rest on a rock, tree stump. Or maybe a little human in their head. You know what? The more I think about it, that's not a joke, actually, because I bet we're going to talk about Chap in a second. And their figures are about so big. And they sold a Bigfoot playset that we're going to see right alongside this. But the figures, they're a little shorter than that. But I'm wondering if he actually is meant to be played with alongside other action figures, and that's kind of what the thinking was, having the hand like that. It's a reach, but it just occurred to me as I was looking at it. He has a lot of texture in his chest. He's got a big bare chest, kind of like the Curse of the Demon Bigfoot. Although hopefully he's not as aggressive as that Bigfoot. Or not, it's not Curse of the Demon. That's the devil demon. Night of the Demon. That's the Bigfoot movie. Curse of the Demon is the one with Dana Andrews. Also titled, has two titles, also titled Night of the Demon. But the Night of the Demon, the 80s video nasty, the mutilating Bigfoot, that's Night of the Demon. So his bare chest kind of reminds me of Night of the Demon. I was going to show you the back here. I kind of like that. He kind of does look he looks more authentic. It's a weird thing to say. From the back, I mean, he looks like a more serious Bigfoot sculpt from the back. I could imagine like something at a cryptozoology museum looking like that from the back. He has a bit more of that Roger Patterson, Bob Gimlin, Bigfoot appearance back there. It's an odd observation, I know. Is there anything we can see about this this tag here? 2016. I thought it was 2015. 2016 Discovery Communications. So I think it's the playsets that are 2015, and these are 2016. Okay. Discovery Communications 2016 LLC Animal Planet. In 2016 Jeffrey LLC. Animal Planet Toys R Us. Animal Planet brings the animal kingdom to life every day on screen, online, and in products like this one. Giant Bigfoot. Ages 3 and up. He's a giant Bigfoot. Let's see this picture on this tag. And we're going to see that picture again on another product in a second. Yeah, it's a lot of glare. You can't really see it very well. There we go. I did not put that plastic on it. That it was sold like that. They put that plastic on it at the factory. So they had collectors in mind. Even though these are definitely kids' toys made for kids, they had collectors in mind because they knew collectors wanted to keep that tag intact. And the inside is not very exciting. So that's why that 2015 date didn't seem right to me, because it's not 2015, it's 2016, the year I bought them. Here is the Yeti. Oh, that's a nice picture. Here's the Yeti tag. And I think we're going to see that image again in a second on another product. So let's look at the Yeti. He's squishier than the Bigfoot. They're both squishy, but the Yeti's a little squishier. He does have a Wampa-like appearance. If he had horns, he'd be very Wampa-esque. That's a fierce-looking Yeti. I can see Ben from Night of the Living Dead back there is ready to attack. He's going to defend the household against this Yeti. First zombies, now Yetis. What next? He's going to give him a good whack on the head. If you got yourself a stick or a club, hit him on the head. But I don't think that's a sure way to kill a Yeti. I think you're going to get clobbered if you try that on a Yeti. He's got both of his hands. He's playing the piano. He's the keyboardist Yeti. He's playing a song for you. He's got his synthesizer down there. He's playing a little tune. He's singing, crooning. He's a virtuoso. Now he's getting really into it. Okay, his song is finished. Here's his big feet. Big blue feet. Not as humanoid as the Sasquatch feet. Well, they both have claws, though. Let's turn him around. There we go. I hate to handle him too much because he's nice and white. I want him to stay that way. I don't want him to get smudgy. It's weird, but I really like the back view of these guys. Something about them. When you turn them this way, of course, they look very cartoony. They're cute, but they're very cartoony. When you turn them around, if you didn't know what the front looked like, you'd look at that and say, wow, I bet that's a really cool Yeti figure. I wonder what that looks like on the other side. It looks really neat. Then you turn it around like, oh, well, it's kind of, it's of its time. I mean, I don't expect it to look like the Mysterious Monsters or Hammer Abominable Snowman, but it looks like what would appeal to a child. A child would appreciate that. That's a ferocious Yeti that is just going to tear you apart. That's what a child wants. He wants a big, scary, mean Yeti to attack his other toys. So there they are. The Giant Yeti, is that what he's called? Yes, Giant Yeti. Giant Yeti and Giant Bigfoot. That's the name of these toys. Yep. Or this one's Giant Sasquatch, actually, right? No, it's Giant Bigfoot. Giant Bigfoot and Giant Yeti. Giant Bigfoot meet Giant Yeti. Are they really giant? Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, if they were 2 feet tall, they'd be more giant, but I think this qualifies as a giant. I think it's significant that they're both marketed as Animal Planet. Now, Toys R Us sold a whole bunch of Animal Planet products. They had an aisle, like the same aisle, usually, the same aisle that had all the big toys I was talking about. A lot of those toys would be marketed as Animal Planet toys, but they also had a bunch of playsets that were marketed as Animal Planet. And they were like safari and zoo and deep sea diving and that kind of stuff. But they had the Animal Planet logo on them. And we're going to see some of those in a second here. Okay, I think he's good there. Before we do that, this is an Animal Planet item. It's not sold at Toys R Us. It wasn't. This is a Finding Bigfoot. And this plastic is original. That's from the factory. That's why he's still in that plastic. I'm not going to take him out. It's from the factory, but he's an official Finding Bigfoot, stuffed Bigfoot. And he wasn't sold at Toys R Us. He was sold, I think it was the Finding Bigfoot website or the Animal Planet website. It's probably Animal Planet. I'm sure their website had a link to the websites for the individual shows, and then Finding Bigfoot was one of those. Let's see here. He does have an Animal Planet indication on his tag. So I'm wondering why, since Animal Planet had Finding Bigfoot, and there was toy merchandise for Finding Bigfoot was a show on Animal Planet where they hunted Bigfoot every week. I wonder why those Bigfoots are not branded as Finding Bigfoot. They're Animal Planet. Why not go the extra step and make them Finding Bigfoot? And especially now with these. Let's look at these. These are playsets. Again, lovely Toys R Us bags. I feel like these bags are almost more interesting than the toys. The bag looks fun, doesn't it? This purple bag. Toys R Us plastic bag. Okay, so this is an Animal Planet Bigfoot playset. But it's not Finding Bigfoot, even though there was a show called Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet. And as we just saw, there was a Finding Bigfoot branded plush Bigfoot. So why not brand these things as Finding Bigfoot? I don't know. They didn't. They branded them as Animal Planet. And they made two. We'll see the Yeti one in a second, but this is the Bigfoot one. Let me take a look here. It is more safari-oriented than really like cryptid hunter. It has a more safari kind of a vibe. Let's take a closer look. So here is the artwork. Let's take a look at that first. The Bigfoot playset. Now that artwork looks familiar, doesn't it? I think we saw that somewhere before. Same on the other side. Same artwork. Here's an image of how you might play with this. Just a suggestion. You might try arranging it like this and having the Bigfoot hunter encounter this giant Sasquatch with the club. There's some information about Bigfoot. Your mission: set up camp in the dense wilderness to track one of the world's most mysterious creatures. Will your search be in vain, or can you finally prove Bigfoot's existence to the world? Let's see what this other little fact card says. Bigfoot has been described as a large, hairy, man-like creature that inhabits the forest. Although sightings have been reported in every U.S. state except Hawaii, most scientists believe so-called evidence is the result of hoaxes or misidentified animals. And that's all it says. Then it has it repeated in 2 more languages. I'm assuming French and Spanish. So even though it's got all this text, it's really just this part, and then it's repeated again and again in different languages. If he's out there, you'll find him. So this set comes with the Bigfoot with mechanical action, a bobcat, ATV, campfire, 2 footprints, figure, and accessories. Let's take a closer look at what's in here. Start with the Bigfoot. So that is a cartoony sort of a Bigfoot. That's not a very realistic looking Bigfoot. I do wish that they had gone with a more serious look. Something more like that. And that's the bobcat. That's a fanciful looking bobcat. It kind of reminds me of the Aurora prehistoric scenes, like something that might have been in one of those. And that campfire, that's very Aurora-esque, like something that would have been in the Aurora cave. There's ATV. There's the, so I guess one is the brown one is the Bigfoot footprint, and then the other is the plaster cast. And here's the hunter. He's got a lot of stuff. Club up there. Kind of odd for Bigfoot to use a club. And this Bigfoot has a swinging action, so he can swing his club. But that's more of a caveman kind of thing with a club. But this Bigfoot, he swings a club. What kind of stuff is in here? Looks like some kind of a portable computer, like a laptop computer, and a camera, flashlight, binoculars. I don't know what that little round thing is. Some of this looks kind of fanciful, kind of sci-fi. Yeah, I mean, it's all very cool. So as much as I like this set, of course I would rather, it would be even cooler if it was a little more down to earth. Maybe if I had a couple of people, like a team, and the equipment, instead of being kind of sci-fi, maybe if the equipment looked more serious, and the whole thing just looked more like a normal, natural group of researchers. For me, that would actually be more fun than the more out there, fanciful style. I don't know if I were a kid in 2015, if I would agree, but the idea that we're really getting serious, we're going to research Bigfoot, and here's all of our gear. that's more fun to me than the more out there kind of stuff. But I wonder how much of this was really made for this set and how much of it was already existing. So this set and the one we're going to see, the Yeti, they're made by a company called Chap. And Chap produced a lot of playsets like this for Toys R Us. All that Animal Planet stuff I told you about, but that's all Chap. And they made a bunch of other, before they started branding them Animal Planet, they made a whole lot of other fanciful playsets. Some of them were like Search for the Mummy. That's one I don't have. I'd like to have that. That's a good one, where it has archaeologists and a mummy's tomb and a kind of a Brendan Fraser style, over-the-top mummy, not like a Boris Karloff era mummy. And they had military sets, medieval sets, all kinds of stuff. And they were always branded like they were a house brand at Toys R Us. But Chap makes stuff like that all over the world that has nothing to do with Toys R Us. And I don't know what the current state of Chap is right now. They must still be around, because the Canadian Toys R Us still carries Chap playsets, so they're still around. But they make stuff that is not sold at Toys R Us. It is not branded at Toys R Us. It has nothing to do with Toys R Us. They've been around a long time, and they make all kinds of generic sort of action figures. I don't know when they really, I don't know the history of Chap. I shouldn't sit here and try to tell you about the history of Chap, because I really don't know. But they've been around a long time, because I remember seeing their play sets going way, way back. And they're always very cool, very neat, but very affordable, kind of generic, and always mimicking other things that are popular at the time. So if it's pirates, then they might have like pirate playset. Or if it's Jurassic Park, they might have a modern dinosaur, like scientists and dinosaurs together, kind of a playset. Whatever the hot thing is at the time, they've got generic playsets that mimic the popular thing or the popular movies. And I think it was because of Finding Bigfoot that was a big thing for a while. That show was very popular for a while. And I believe that's why they decided to come out with these Bigfoot and Yeti Animal Planet playsets. And I'm just wondering I think Chap reused a lot of stuff. I think the same figures and accessories and vehicles turned up again and again in different playsets. So I'm wondering how much of this was made for this playset and how much of it already existed and was repurposed. The Bigfoot probably was made for this set, I'm thinking. I mean, where would that have come from, if not from, that had to be made for this set. Let's set this aside. And look at the Yeti. Nice green Toys R Us bag. This is like the one that the big white Yeti was in. It was in a green one like this. I feel like I'm more fascinated with the bags than I am with the toys. Is there a receipt in this? No. Oh yes, there it is. Well, I was going to show you the receipt, but there might be a credit card number on there. Let's see. When did I do this? I bought this in 2016 as well, but I bought it earlier in the year. So I did not buy it at the same time as those other two. I bought the play sets and then I bought the other two. But I bought them all in 2016. Put the receipt back in there. On the Bigfoot, I didn't really look at any copyright information. Copyright 2015 Discovery Communications. Made in China. Here's the Yeti playset. This set reminds me a lot of the Wampa in Luke Skywalker in the Wampa's cave. But I'm glad they did not give the Yeti horns. Neither the big one nor this little one have horns. I don't like it when Yetis have horns. The Wampa has horns. The Yeti does not have horns. I didn't show you the top of the other one. There's the Yeti in action. Here is artwork of the Yeti. Now it's very, very Empire Strikes Back Wampa. Just put horns on him and that's the Wampa. But I do like this artwork. It's very atmospheric. And I like that the Yeti and the Bigfoot have very different personalities. The toys, the artwork, the whole thing, they didn't just make the same toy in different colors. They have different personalities. And the Yeti is more fanciful and ferocious than the Bigfoot. Especially the artwork of the Bigfoot looks very docile, very peaceful. There's the Yeti playset. I think I like this Yeti one more than the Bigfoot. I prefer this Yeti playset. The Yeti does not look like the Bigfoot. He's a very different design. He's not just the same toy in a different color. His character is very different. There's a cave. Not the Yeti. That Yeti cannot fit in that cave. So that's a cave for the human to go inside. Here he is, the human. I can't get it any closer to the camera, unfortunately. He doesn't have as much gear as the Bigfoot hunter. You can see that Yeti does not fit in there. This little guy fits in there. Let me see what they call this stuff. Includes Yeti with mechanical action, ice cave, snowmobile, figure, and accessories. So it doesn't go into any detail. Instead of a club, this Yeti has icicles. Well, one big icicle and then some chunks of ice that he can throw. The Explorer doesn't really have a lot of equipment. He's got a torch. Well, yeah, that's a torch. I'm not sure what some of this stuff is. He's got a torch. He's got a club. He has a gun. Now that's interesting. I don't think the Bigfoot hunter had a gun. This one does have a gun. And this is what I meant by Chap reusing stuff. Look at that. The hunter, whatever you want to call him, the explorer, he has fish. He has fish hanging from his belt. See the little fishies? Now, if he's in the Himalayas, why does he have fish? So it seems to me, and I was wondering, what's that U-shaped thing? I don't know what that's for. But look at the fish. Where is it? Right there. Fish. Why does he have fish? So it seems to me that this figure originally was part of an Arctic explorer set. And it was repurposed for this set because there's no reason he would have fish. If he's hunting the Yeti in the Himalayas, he wouldn't be having fish hanging off his belt. But if he's in the North Pole, okay, then I can understand why he would have fish. That would make more sense. His snowmobile has a gun too. Two guns? No, one gun. So his snowmobile has a gun, and he has a gun. So this Yeti's going to get shot to heck. Poor Yeti. He better take that icicle and clobber this guy, my goodness. The Bigfoot playset does not have any guns. It's got something that looks like a gun, but it's a camera, I think. Is it, or is that a gun? Maybe that's a gun. You know what? I think it's a gun. I thought it was a camera. Yeah, now that I look at it, I mean, it could be a scope. I can't tell if that's a gun or a scope of some kind. Like, he's got some weird, Bigfoot hunter's got some weird accessories. And why is there a bobcat with the Bigfoot set? I have no idea. And why isn't there some kind of a cat or snow leopard with the Yeti? That'd be cool. Well, these are really nice play sets. I mean, I can imagine better ones, and I'm sure if someone in the 1970s had tried to make an elaborate set like this, it would be better. The way it would be designed would be better. Let's see what it says about the Yeti. Don't startle the ice-slinging beast. Embark on an Arctic adventure to investigate clues and gather compelling evidence left by one of the world's most elusive creatures. Can you capture the Yeti and prove his existence once and for all? The Yeti is described as a tall human-gorilla hybrid, that hails from the cold climate of the Himalayas. The first sighting traces back to 1832, while reports hit an all-time high in the 1950s. Though many skeptics exist, Yeti enthusiasts continue to search the mountains for this mysterious creature. Oh, like I said, both of these are made by Chap, and I don't own enough Chap stuff to really do a Chap episode and talk more about it. I own these two things and King Kong, and that's about it, I think. They didn't make a Loch Ness Monster, strangely enough. You would think they would. They have a deep sea exploration set that has a plesiosaur kind of a monster in it, but it's not branded as a Loch Ness Monster set. They could have easily called it a Loch Ness Monster. Loch Ness exploration playset or something. They didn't do that. I wonder why. They had Bigfoot, they had Yeti, why not go ahead and do Loch Ness? I mean, they had the stuff. They had the creature, they had a submarine, like a little mini sub. They had everything they needed. Maybe they thought it would be repetitive because that set was already out. I don't know. That would have been cool to have the Loch Ness set, the Bigfoot, the Yeti, have all three of them. That would have been neat to have the trio. But they didn't make a Loch Ness, unfortunately, not officially. They made that plesiosaur deep sea set, but they didn't make Loch Ness, an official Loch Ness monster set. These play sets were sold alongside these big monsters, and you saw that the artwork is the same. So the artwork used on these cards for these big monsters is the same artwork used on the front and the sides of the boxes of these playsets. They were making a push for Bigfoot Yeti toys in 2015 and 2016, and I can only imagine it must have been because of Finding Bigfoot. I don't know what else was going on at that time, but Animal Planet, these are Animal Planet branded toys. Animal Planet, their hit show was Finding Bigfoot, but they didn't brand these as Finding Bigfoot toys. That's interesting. When I remember when I first saw them, well, I remember before they came out, I would go to Toys R Us, I would see all the Animal Planet toys. I would think, why don't they make Finding Bigfoot? I mean, that's their big show, isn't it? They have all this other stuff. Wouldn't that be a natural to make Finding Bigfoot toys? And then finally they made these things. I said, oh, they did it. They followed my suggestion psychically. But then wait a minute. Nowhere on the box does it say Finding Bigfoot. It says Animal Planet, but doesn't say Finding Bigfoot. So I thought that was weird. They finally made the toys I thought they should make, but then they didn't brand them with the show logo. I grew up with, I wonder, will he stand up or not? Don't crush my toys. There he goes. Stay. I grew up, of course, a big fan of Bigfoot. And like I said, this was my childhood Bigfoot. And I said he had little tiny feet. That's sort of a common complaint about bionic Bigfoot is that he's Bigfoot, but he has little feet. They're cute little feet. I don't know why they gave him little feet. Why? I don't know. They could have made those feet bigger, but whatever. People say that, I don't know where they get this idea that the Kenner large-sized Chewbacca shares the same sculpt as the bionic Bigfoot. I believe bionic Bigfoot came out first. So people assume that Chewbacca, the big Chewbacca figure, was molded off of this Bigfoot as a starting point. And that's bunk. I got my childhood large-sized Chewbacca. His arms have come off, and I haven't bothered putting them back on. His arms came off too, but I reattached them. And they're attached with a rubber band. It gets old and dries up and breaks. You just replace it I replaced it with elastic. I mean, you could use another rubber band, but it'll just dry up again, so I used elastic. I haven't done that with Chewbacca. But I've got both of them, and they are not the same. They're completely different sculpts, different texture in the hair. They are not the same sculpts. They're sculpted separately. That might have been sculpted by the same person, so that might be why it seems like there's a similarity between them, and it does seem like a similar style. So maybe they were sculpted by the same person, but they're not the same sculpt. But anyway, I was very fascinated with Bigfoot as a child. I was obsessed with Bigfoot as a child. And remained obsessed with Bigfoot into my adult years. It's really only been in recent years that I've gone from obsessed with Bigfoot to more of an enthusiast. Like, I think that box said Yeti enthusiasts. Yes, I'm a Bigfoot Yeti enthusiast. When I was a kid, I was sure Bigfoot was real. Of course he was real. Bigfoot, Yeti, Loch Ness Monster, All those things were real, naturally. People saw them. They said they saw them. They took pictures of them. Look, there's a picture in this book. There's a picture in this movie. Look, there's film of Bigfoot walking along. There it is, right there. It's real. Nowadays, I tend to think it's not real. I tend to think Bigfoot is not a real animal. I don't know. Maybe there was such a thing at some point, but I'm much more skeptical now than I was 20 years ago. And I think I know the reason was the internet and social media and the new information age, where it's so easy to look up anything. If like a story that you read about in books about some famous Bigfoot sighting, and book after book or documentary after documentary would repeat the story and say, well, it must have really happened, right? But all you gotta do is Google a little bit and you start to see you find the primary sources for that story, and it doesn't take much searching for it to all just fall apart. And you realize, it was a bunch of bunk all along. That's where I am with Bigfoot and all this stuff now. I'm still interested in it, very interested in it, but I'm interested in it as a mystery, not an answer, as not a destination. I'm interested in the question more than the answer, because the answer might turn out to be stupid, but the question is interesting. Of course, there's part of me that hopes somewhere out there in the woods there's a monster roaming around. But boy, by now, it seems like if something like that were real, we'd all know. And when I was a kid, I would have just killed for a playset like one of these, for a Bigfoot or a Yeti playset. And it seems like they finally put them out at the tail end of the child-oriented popularity of those things, because Finding Bigfoot was canceled not long after these came out, and there really isn't a Bigfoot show or a very popular Bigfoot movie. There's nothing like that out there right now in the culture. I don't think Bigfoot or Nessie are as popular now as they were 10 years ago. I think they experienced a renaissance about 10 years ago, and also in the 90s when the X-Files was popular, and of course the 70s were the heyday of Bigfoot and cryptid popularity that it just exploded in the 70s. And the Yeti was very big in the 50s. But I don't know that they're that big right now. I don't feel like it's something in the culture right now. Not to the point where kids are really heavily into it. I feel like there were all these Bigfoot shows, not just Finding Bigfoot. There were all kinds of specials and documentaries and all kinds of stuff. And there still is a little bit of that. But it's not like it was a few years ago. I feel like it's not as popular. So they came out with these playsets at the tail end of a wave of popularity. So the timing, I wish they'd had them when I was a kid, but they didn't. I would have loved to have had them. I had plenty of Bigfoot toys, but sets like these, like the Adventure People, if Fisher-Price had made an Adventure People Bigfoot set, that would have been amazing. Adventure People, if you don't know what Adventure People is, Google it. They're fantastic toys. They're just like regular people in all these different occupations. I would have loved to have had an Adventure People Bigfoot or Yeti playset with a couple of explorers, let's say Bigfoot, a couple of like forest ranger types, and then someone maybe in khakis who was like a Peter Byrne kind of explorer type with a hat and tents. There's no tents in these two playsets. Tents, and they would have made fabric tents and fabric sleeping bags with the Adventure People, and some kind of all-terrain vehicle or a Jeep, and cameras, movie cameras, still cameras, a net maybe, and then I can just imagine what the Adventure People Bigfoot would have looked like. That would have been something. It would have looked better than any of these modern toys. It would have, I'm sure, been more naturalistic. It would have looked more like the illustration of that Bigfoot that's on the side of that box. And I'm imagining this set that doesn't exist and how cool that would have been. I don't know, maybe someone like Stan Solo or one of those custom toy makers should make imaginary Adventure People sets that never existed. Have a Bigfoot and a Yeti and a Nessie Adventure People set. That would be cool. That'd be wonderful. If they ever restart the Adventure People, that's a brand they should bring back. I don't know how much adult collector interest there would be in the Adventure People, but I think kids would still be into that. I mean, that's basically what the Chap stuff is. It's like the modern equivalent of the Adventure People. But why not bring in the proper Adventure People with the same kind of styling, very natural looking sculpts that look like real people instead of the Chap kind of exaggerated look. Call it Adventure People, bring the brand back. And you could start with Bigfoot, or you could start with a shark set. I mean, if you go to Target, there are shark sets, like, unofficial Jaws sets. And they're basically Adventure People, but they're not official. They're not branded Adventure People. Why not officially bring the brand back? I think it would go over well. Why not? Okay, I think that's it. I think I've talked enough about these things. They're pretty cool. I wish that something like that like these sets and these big monsters had been around when I was a kid. Especially the play sets. I mean, we had big monsters, but I wish the play sets had been around when I was a kid. I can just imagine what they would have been like. What if we had In Search Of official branded play sets with like Leonard Nimoy's face in the corner? Can you imagine that? A set like that, Nimoy's face, In Search Of, and then Bigfoot playset or Yeti playset. Wouldn't that be something? We had G.I. Joe, Search for the Yeti, but the Yeti was this little thing. And we had Evel Knievel, we had a little Yeti figurine, but it's not the same. Not the same. Well, better late than never. They're 40 years too late, but at least they finally got more than that. Gosh, closer to 50 years too late. They're too late for me anyway. But at least they finally got around to it. I couldn't own them as a kid, but I can own them now. So that's okay. That's okay. Better late than never. Okay, that's it. That's it. Time to wrap it up. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely holiday season. And I will be back with more Basement of Horror. Until then, the one who dies with the most toys is dead.